Welcome to the JC Pod, partner with Stand Out Sports. I'm your host, Jaden Chandler Parnell, and man, does it feel good to be back. Tell you what, surgery was a success. I probably could have returned Thursday, honestly, but I'm like, let me just take the extra few days. The cyst is gone. Everything is all well. I can fully talk and everything again. And hey, feels good to be back, man. We had football last week, so in today's episode, we're going to talk some Week 0 reactions to college football world. I'm going to give you my win totals for college football. I got a little bit of explaining to do on that part, but we'll do that when we hop into the college football portion. Before we get into that, got some NFL news to talk about. Before we even get there, I got just let a little secret in. I don't know ball. I just got my fantasy projections projected to go 0-15, and I can tell you what, I by far had probably one of the, I would argue probably the top 3-4 draft in my league, 10-man league, and I project to go 0-15. But hear this, I'm supposed to win week 1. Anyway, we don't got to talk about my fantasy, though, even though I'll admit, AI got me a little flustered, a little heated. But no, like I said, though, we're going to hop right into some NFL news. Before we get to the NFL news, I want to talk about how it's going to work. So Thursday, I'm going to give out my NFL futures and give out my bets for college football week 1, as well as go over some other stuff. So today, we're going to pretty much just kind of talk about some of the stuff that I missed NFL news-wise, kind of go over my reactions for week 0. And then when it comes to the college football win totals, I won't lie to you. Georgia Tech, one of them I had, for example, over 4.5. That's changed. And I also had Florida State over 9.5, which is another one that, oh boy, I'll admit, that's probably, wish I didn't take that one when I did. But we'll talk about those a little bit. I'll give those out. And then next year, my goal is to give out these hopefully 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks earlier. Just the way some shit worked out this year, I mistimed it by a little bit. And I'll admit, having surgery on the week that I was going to give out all my futures and everything, kind of messed it up. And now that we got some college football action and everything, just a little bit mess up. So I understand that this probably won't be the best time to give out college football win totals, but I'm going to do it for this year, keep the record, keep an actual record of it, so that way when I give out my futures next year, we actually are able to be like, oh, this is what I took this year, this is what I took, and this is what we went, all that stuff. But like I said, so that pretty much just what's going on today. Excited to be back and all that. But before we get into all that, we got some NFL news to talk about. We're probably going to burn through this because there is a shit ton. I basically got a week's worth of news. And today's the day where everyone's trying to get the rosters cut down and everything. So guys are getting dropped left and right. So for example, Kadarius Toney, gone. Desmond Ridder from the Cardinals, gone. TJ Hawkinson, he started out the year on the PUP. He's going to miss at least 4 games. Jordan Brooks, same situation. He's on the PUP, going to at least miss 4 games. So there's a lot of situations like this. And then you got some rare situations like CeeDee Lamb. 4 years, $136 million. Oh my God, that's a bag. Shout out to CeeDee Lamb. Also shout out my boy Jaron, who passed on CD in our fantasy draft on Sunday night. And then Monday afternoon at like noon, he gets this big deal. Tough, man. Absolutely tough, but shout out to CD, man. 4 year, $136 million. I don't think it's a matter in the grand scheme of things when it comes to the Cowboys winning a Super Bowl this year, but it's at least good to get one of their top weapons back on the field. So at least, we'll be able to make some noise. And Dak's going to be playing a lot better now that CD's on the field. So continuing on, the Jets are optimistic that Hassan Reddick will end his holdout to play in Week 1. I'm assuming that this is probably going to happen because he's already, I think, according to Mike Lombardi, excuse me. Eesh. According to Mike Lombardi on the Pat McAfee show, I think he said that Hassan Reddick's up to $4 million now that he owes. So, yeah, I'd say there's a really good chance that since he has $4 million in fines, he's probably going to come back before the game checks hit. Because I'll tell you what, $4 million having to pay out of pocket, that's kind of expensive. But that's within like 3 or 4 weeks of stuff. He's going to have to be paying like a minimum, I think, of $1 million per game for the game check. So, yeah, I would assume that he's going to be back. Same with Jamar Chase. They haven't said anything about his contract, but I'm assuming that will get done at the end of the week. What most of these insiders and most of what everything I've seen so far has pretty much figured out for me, at least, let me rephrase that a little bit. From what I figured out and understand from what everyone else is saying, probably a better way to say that, it sounds like Jamar Chase, a lot of those deals should be done by the end of the week. If not, there's basically nothing going to happen, and we're just going to continue on as we continue on. Like, for example, Jamar Chase doesn't have to have a deal this year, so if he doesn't get it signed, I won't be shocked if he ends up just playing on the deal he has, but there's going to be some resentment going into next year. Which, by the way, for us who drafted Jamar Chase, it'd be nice if he signed a contract or just got back on the field. He's at least practicing as of Sunday. I assumed he practiced yesterday. I need to look back into that, but yeah, we're still waiting to hear about his deal, but same with Hassan Reddick. That's another situation where he's probably going to end up playing by week 1. I would assume Jamar Chase is similar. Gable Stevenson got waived by the Bills. Commanders are going to rename their home field after to Northwest Stadium. This is after the Northwest Federal Credit Union. So sounds like they're getting money to. I wonder if it's pay somebody or this is one more than on average. Oh, so it's worth more than the $7.5 million on average that FedEx Field played for naming rights. So, that's crazy. Yeah, so FedEx Field's been there since 1999. So that's almost 30 years now. Man, so I wonder how long. I genuinely wonder how long this deal is for this team name. Since they're making about $7.5 million a year, I'm assuming it's going to be. It's going to be pretty decent money. So apparently, Montez Sweat came out and said, I definitely made a transition to a better spot when talking about going to the Bears Commanders. Let's see, because he said something about Washington I want to bring up. It was toxic, heavy toll, just losing and people around you being kind of okay with losing. It could sometimes rub off on you. You got to stay hungry, know what you want to win. So that's what Montez Sweat had to say about the Commanders. Obviously, that's not for every single teammate there, but it is a losing culture. So hopefully Dan Quinn can turn that around. Everything, I think, has started to slowly change since Dan Snyder's been gone. Last year was just an absolute mess, though, with Eric Bieniemy, Ron Rivera, all that mess. So hopefully Dan Quinn now in year one, they're going to start taking steps and heading in a better direction. Dalvin Cook is going to be visiting with the Cowboys, which is, I just picked up Rico Dowdle on the fantasy waiver wire in our league, which was shocking. I didn't think he was going to make it to the wire. So now that they're going to get now they're going to get Dalvin Cook, it's kind of like, God damn it. That's frustrating. But it's also not shocking because the running back room for the Cowboys is kind of, because basically it's Rico Dowdle and Zeke as a combo, and since Zeke is the starter, that might be saying something that Rico could win the job from him. Makes me wonder, but regardless of getting Dalvin Cook in, probably wouldn't be a bad move at all. Apparently, the Broncos are looking for trade options for Tim Patrick and Samaje Perine, so we're going to have to keep an eye out for that one. Nick Chubb is going to be on the PUP list as well, so he's going to be out for 4 weeks-ish. Titans are traded Will Levis, Malik Willis. Big difference in that. Big difference in names right there. The Tennessee Titans traded Malik Willis to the Packers in exchange for a 7th rounder. Not a bad trade at all for the Packers. Get a guy that they kind of want to have a backup, and they'll probably be able to. I won't lie to you. The Packers getting Malik Willis at backup is actually. I actually really like this move because I won't lie to you. The Packers have proven to me at this point that they can develop quarterbacks pretty well, and this might give Malik Willis his best chance to play in the NFL at this point. Nwosu is probably going to start the season on IR because of an MCL sprain. That sucks for the Seahawks. Trent Williams is apparently willing to extend his holdout into the regular season. This is another guy, like I said, I think his deal will get done around Friday. We'll see, though. Obviously, the 49ers have to make some stuff work, but they still have Brandon Ayuk to worry about, so that's going to be an interesting situation. We'll just have to see. I assume Trent Williams will come back because I really need him, especially because it seems like the O-line hasn't been the best so far in preseason. But to continue on, like I said, back to Trent Williams real quick before we move on. Yeah, I just think he's going to sign a deal. He's one of their best offensive linemen. They're probably going to have to get something done. And tackles are one of the pretty important positions in the NFL. Does he get done before Ayuk? Very interesting question. They pretty much have the Ayuk deal already done, so I wouldn't be shocked if they're working on the Trent Williams ones right now. But we'll have to see. I genuinely think he'll sign back with the 49ers by the end of the week. That'd be my assumption. If he doesn't, that's when stuff starts to get really interesting. Drake May has outplayed Brissett this summer so far, it sounds like. I just hope for Drake May's sake that they let him sit for a little bit. The Patriots have a horrible beginning schedule. And not only do they have a horrible beginning schedule, I think it's basically they have offensive line situations to figure out. So basically, I think Bill Simmons said week 6 was when he would want to see Drake May. I think that probably wouldn't be a bad spot at all. Especially because of how tough the first 4 games are for the Patriots. I mean, you don't want to put him out there with an offensive line that's trying to figure shit out and then just absolutely wreck him. I mean, you can see it in Sam Howell. Sam Howell's still recovering from the 65 sacks he took last season. But yeah, you got Bengals, Seahawks, Jets, 49ers, Dolphins, Texans in the first few weeks. If you then put them in, say like week 7-ish, you got Jaguars, Jets, Titans, Bears, Rams, Dolphins, Colts. So it starts to back down and slide a little bit. But that beginning of the year is pretty tough, especially for rookies. So that would be an interesting move if they do start him. I feel like they would want to start Brissett to allow the line to figure itself out a little bit. But, hey, if they're saying May's ready to play, they might as well, I guess, start him, right? Give him a chance. Bradley Chubb's going to be on the PUP list, so he's out the first 4 games. The Chiefs are signing back Juju Smith-Schuster, which makes sense now while they got rid of Kadarius Toney. Um, Interesting. I think he's going to be a really good short yardage receiver. I wouldn't be shocked if this is like the Keenan Allen role we used to see on the old Chargers teams, pre-John Harbaugh, or Jim Harbaugh, whichever Harbaugh it is. I always mess it up. Don't know how. John Harbaugh. I think it's going to be a better, probably not better, probably like a slightly worse, maybe about the same older Keenan Allen, where you aren't going to see him going down the field a lot. But I wouldn't be shocked, honestly, if he fills a similar version of Travis Kelce role. Or maybe they pull out Travis Kelce for a few plays. Instead of Travis Kelce being the guy who's short, sitting underneath, you make Juju that guy. Make him fight for those extra tough yards. That's probably the role I see him playing in, for being honest. Apparently, Fanatics names Marvin Harrison Sr. in refiled lawsuits and add fraud allegation. Going to be interesting to see what happens with there. Obviously, Marvin Harrison Sr. had a son ready to play in the NFL and knew all this Fanatic stuff that they were going to do. So we're going to see at that. I won't lie to you. I'm not the biggest fan of... I'm not going to trust Fanatics, but some of their merch as of late, not been the best. So, but regardless, it's going to be an interesting situation to see what happens between the two. I think Bo Nix, by the way, announced the starting quarterback for the Broncos. Very, very awesome to hear that. Apparently, Dolphins released Mike White, and they're going to keep, who as the backup? Thompson. Of course, I can't see Buddy. They won't tell me Buddy's first name. Skylar Thompson. I literally had to read almost the whole article to get to Skylar Thompson. My lord. Shout out to him, though, for staying. But like I said, Jamar Chase practiced for first time 2 days ago. Not a bad move at all. And I think it's pretty much going to do it. That catches up on most of the modern news this week. Like I said, because I took a week off, obviously I'm going to miss some stuff. Deron Bland out 6 to 8 weeks with some injuries. Deshaun Watson's out the final preseason finale, but he should be, I think, ready to go. I think by week 1 it'd be good, but we'll just see because obviously this Deshaun Watson situation's just been weird. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff I did miss, I'll admit, obviously, because like the John Dawson trade I did miss. Creed Humphrey signed a max deal. There's a lot that I missed. I could seriously have a whole show just going over NFL news, but there's really no reason to do that. So I just brought up a lot of the recent stuff memory that was been recently. I'll try to, again, on Thursday, knock out some of the stuff that I missed. That was big news. But if you're interested in any of this stuff, feel free to check out Stay Down Sports. We have been active over there, again, so a lot of the NFL news and a lot of other news has been put up there. So if I didn't say it here, there's a chance that maybe it's up there if you're interested in that. But, like I said, we'll talk a little bit more NFL on Thursday when I go over pretty much all my futures for the NFL. But now, we're going to go over Week 0 because, hey, we had some football action this week. Going ahead and hopping into the reactions from Week 0. We're going to go in opposite order because I did watch the most out of... whatever you call it. I did watch the most of the Georgia Tech Florida State game. I watched about a half of SMU Nevada. Didn't watch any of Montana State New Mexico, and I didn't watch any of Hawaii Delaware. So I'll save Georgia Tech Florida State for last because I have the most thoughts on that game. But moving forward, Hawaii Delaware State. Not too much to say here. It sounds like Hawaii played almost everybody pretty much on their roster. And Delaware State was coming into a situation where Hawaii is probably going to not only overlook them, but they're focusing on the next opponent. Delaware State was not good enough to scare Hawaii in any way. But I'll admit, I was an idiot. Betting this weekend, we went 2-4 overall. One properly lost, 2-3 in the straights. But that Georgia Tech, baby. Georgia Tech got us right this weekend. So regardless, even of having a losing record, up on the year to start, which is what we love to see. But with that being said, I was an idiot. I took Hawaii spread, hoping that, hey, maybe they'll win by 40. Because I didn't think Delaware State would score more than 14. It was just more of a question of, is Hawaii going to put up 40 to 50? I was hoping that they would pretty much. I genuinely thought they might score at least 2 more times than this. But obviously a very slow. Not very slow, but only scoring 14 points in the first half. Yeah, after seeing that, I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense than why they didn't blow them out. But nothing too crazy there. New Mexico, I don't have too much to bring up. I haven't deep dived the Mountain West too much, but I know this is supposed to be... Obviously, I have deep dove in enough, but not enough to know, deep stuff about New Mexico stuff, I'm an insider for them. But I know New Mexico is supposed to be one of the more worst teams in the Mountain West, but the fact that they went up 10-0 right away against Montana State, who, by the way, FCS, but favored by 14 against New Mexico. New Mexico had a 17-point lead going into the fourth, then gave up 21 points completely, which was just horrible for them, honestly. Just horrible. The Montana State scores with 10 seconds to go. But if we're being honest, I think New Mexico had 2 defensive touchdowns in this game that really helped them out. I think it was 2 fumble sixes even at that. Was it? If there's 1 fumble? Yeah, it's 2 fumble sixes, which is crazy. But yeah, Montana State with 10 seconds left takes the lead. Heartbreaking loss for New Mexico, but bottom of the Mountain West might be feisty. Moving on to SMU, Nevada. Like I said, I didn't watch the first 2 games too much, so those are kind of just like my overriding thoughts from looking at watching highlights / listening to podcasts of people who actually love college football and deep dove those few games / I mean, don't get me wrong, I love college football, but NFL is like, that's where I definitely pay a lot more attention to. College football, there's so much going on that I'll admit I rely on some guys to be like, all right, let me hear their opinions on this, and let me hear their opinions on that, because they actually have more insight to me. And that's another situation where SMU Nevada, where I watched the first half, didn't watch the second half. I was shocked about how poorly Preston Stone played in the first half, and then I was even more shocked to look back at the score at the end of the game and be like, wow, not only did they not cover the live 6.5 I took, Preston Stone was 17 of 30. There was 1 interception, it was just a complete underthrow. Jennings was really good in the first half, and then they basically just kind of started. They were rotating every 2 series, I think, first half, and then it seems like, obviously from the stats they kept from Preston Stone in the second half. I had the first half spread for SMU, had the full game spread for SMU, and this was almost one of the biggest upsets in college football recently, being a 30-point favorite that barely won in overtime. Or not in overtime, but towards the end of regulation. I mean, they scored with 1:20 left. This game damn near could have been over if Nevada doesn't muff a punt and then have to either punt or kickoff. Can't remember which. And then they get it down at their own 1. That's pretty much where the game kind of flipped on its head. But, man, like I said, we were 0-3 in this game. Absolutely got cooked this game, which sucks because this was one of the few chances SMU on their schedule has a chance to be like really, really good and have a really, really huge win because they play Houston Baptist next week. Another chance for a huge win. Then it's BYU, TCU, Florida State, Louisville, Stanford, Duke, Pitt, Boston College, Virginia, Cal. Which most of you would say, oh, Jaden, that's not a horrible schedule. I think you're overreacting, but I think they might be able to score more. Which I could say. You might be right. But also, let's be honest. First off, they were favored by almost 28, and they only scored 29, which, not horrible. They gave up 24 on defense, which is really concerning. And the biggest thing is they're going from a smaller conference to Power 5. Or I guess Group of 5 to Power 5. So, like, there's going to be a significant, I don't know what the word is, gap, I guess? There's going to be I wouldn't even say significant, but there's definitely going to be a decent-sized gap between some of the linemen they get, some of the depth. So that's something I'm curious to see on SMU when they go throughout the season. But just the fact that they weren't able to cover in this game, it was really concerning. But yeah, overall, like I said, 0-3 this game. First half spread, we got cooked. They looked horrible in the first half. Nevada scored. Their first play was their first play where they scored a touchdown. They basically had a 5-yard touchdown pass because SMU on a punt ball literally went over the snapper's head. No joke. The second the ball went over the snapper's head and SMU basically gave them the ball at like the 20 for them to score, I was like, oh yeah, that first half thing is cooked. So I was hoping for the second half. That got cooked as well. They basically had to come back to win. And I also had Jalen Knighton in his rush over. He had 4 rushes for 8 yards. I think he had 1 rush for 6 yards at one point. But yeah, he had 4 rushes for 8 yards. If you count if you don't take away the quarterbacks, like 4 guys got carries this game. The leader got 11 for 67. Then backup got 9 for 19. I mean, from the carry standpoint, I mean, Knighton was the 3rd string. I mean, yeah, that's just tough. I'm not gonna say I got unlucky with something or obviously, but obviously that's the risk you gotta take in a week 1 game plan. I thought Jalen Knighton was gonna get a lot more carries than he did, and sure enough, Brashard Smith ends up taking all the carries as well. And he had more carries and yards than both Jalen Knighton and LJ Johnson. I mean, the running game didn't do too well as much to begin with, but apparently he was the only running back who got like a lot going. Like I said, I only watched the first half really. Once I saw Jalen Knight wasn't getting a lot to, I'm like, man, this game is going to be a tough game. But the nice news is the game that got me right, especially betting wise. I posted an article about it on Stayed On Sports. Shout out. +5 because of a boost. I had a 50% boost. Man, I had 100% boost on DraftKings, which really sucks because right now they're on some BS. So like my max bet is like I think $10 or $20, which is bullshit because it's like I had a 100% boost. They could have used that Tech money line. But I was able to get the Georgia Tech money line. I used a 50% boost. from FanDuel. Got the money line to plus 510. On BetMGM, used like a 30 or 50% boost. Got their spread 10.5 spread to plus what was it? Plus 136. Yeah, I won't lie. Georgia Tech just outplayed the hell out of Florida State this game. Offensive line-wise, Florida State's offensive line needed to play a lot better. They got talked about being one of the best groups in the ACC, and they got pushed around all day. Got their, in the great words of Tom Fornelli, they got their asses kicked. And also speaking on the Florida State defensive line, in the words of Tom Fornelli, they got their asses kicked. If you watch the game, I mean, seriously, it was... Georgia Tech had I think it was 3.3. For sure 3 yards. Don't know if it's 3.2, 3.3. But 3.3. I'm 99% sure that's the stat. 3.3 yards before the running back even got touched. That Georgia Tech offensive line was moving bodies around up front. The Florida State offensive line, they were struggling a lot. The linebackers for Florida State, I thought Bud Elliott had a great breakdown of this in the cover 3 because I originally, in my breakdown that I talked about, especially in the article I wrote, I talked mainly about how I thought the defensive line did horrible, how they didn't trust each other. And then I listened to Bud's breakdown, like, man, he might have been a little bit more right. He goes into the linebacker play aspect of it, how they had 2 deep safeties, Florida State did. So that means the linebackers have to make, like, instant decision, fill gaps, because you got to think about it. Say I'm the middle linebacker, and I got my nose and my 3 tech here. He gets double... in the center and guard goes this way. All of a sudden, boom, this middle gap's mine. I got to go now. Those linebackers, they were kind of back on their feet. They weren't fully committed. So there was a lot of times where Georgia Tech was just run. And they would get, before anybody would even touch him, like I said, he'd get 3-4 yards, and then he finally gets hit. And this was not, and by the way, that stat's not counting QB sneaks, QB rushes, scrambles, anything like that. That's just straight running plays. And, I mean, if you look at the time possession was huge on offense. Georgia Tech basically did whatever they wanted on offense. I thought the pace that I did not like Florida State's pace too much. But there was something interesting brought up is the clock management. As you saw with Georgia Tech, they were obviously this is also first season where we're gonna have in-helmet stuff, in-helmet communication. You could tell Georgia Tech was getting up the line quick sometimes, but they were still going slow pace enough where they had like 7, 8, 9 minutes drives. Florida State was doing this, but they were doing it in a different way, which was actually interesting. Because most of the time, I even didn't pick this up when I was watching, but shout out Bud Elliott again, another thing he picked up. If you saw, most of the time they'd wait till the 15 seconds. It's because you got 15 seconds to talk, and then it's the communications cut off in the helmet. So for up to the 15-second point, he was probably talking to DJU that whole Mike Norvell was talking to DJU that whole time, telling him like what to think about for plays, and then he would just let him rip, and then they would run a play, say whatever, something would happen, do the whole system again down to 15, and it's just. There was one drive that killed them, especially at halftime trying to go in. You could tell they're basically playing for a field goal. I don't know if Norvell trusts his offense. That was basically my biggest takeaway, listening to a few what other people had to say from what I watched as well. I don't know if he fully trust the offense. Like I said, the offensive line wasn't too good at all. First drive looked really, really good. I don't know if it's between the receivers or DJU who he doesn't trust, but the offenses did not look good at all. DJU missed hella spots. I mean, he missed Benson on the sideline wide open if he just keeps it inbounds. Right into a bucket to Benson, beautiful pass, could be a touchdown. Instead, he throws out of bounds and misses it. Even hitting wide open receivers, instead of hitting him in the front of the shoulder, he's hitting him in the back. He's hitting him low. A lot of weird stuff with DJU, but that part's not too shocking. This is, his 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th? No, I think it's like his 4th or 5th year in college at this point. So, I mean, we kind of know what to expect from him. It was a pretty bad game from Florida State. And on the other side, Georgia Tech, it looked like they were ready. Georgia Tech looked like they were ready to hit. They were ready to tackle. After that first drive where they got ran all over, they were bringing different looks defensively. Florida State had no idea who was coming from where on blitzes. DJU looked a little bit rattled towards the end of the game because of that, because literally just somebody was coming free every single time. So there's times where you could see him, like it'd be just quick, subtle things with the head where you could see him like looking down, trying to find the rush real quick. I mean, Georgia Tech played amazing. Like I said, their offensive line moved bodies, their defensive line moved bodies, which is huge. Haynes King did not turn over the ball at all, which is huge. If he doesn't turn over the ball, that's a really good sign for Georgia Tech. They were able to run the damn ball, as Brent Key would say. They ran that damn ball all over. They ran the ball all over Florida State. They looked really, really good doing it. Florida State they have some stuff to work on defensively, have a little stuff to work on offensively. Nothing huge to take away, obviously, from week 1, a game in Ireland. It's just like, hey, Now I think I had a win total, Georgia Tech win total. We're about to talk about it right now. I had their win total at about 4.5. I did take the over, and now it's now I think they're going to be a bowl team. The same thing, Florida State. If they made the college football playoffs, I didn't think they were going to win the national title. But now it's like maybe they won't make the playoffs. And hell, I'm not going to go this far, but usually there's always one or two teams out of the top 10 that end up not ranked at the end of the season. I'm not going to say it's Florida State after this first game, and I'm not going to act like that, but I'm going to keep my eye on them because I'm not going to say it's a bad loss, but that's a tough loss, man. I mean, Georgia Tech just came in and they proved they were ready to play. They made great tackles. They weren't missing tackles versus Florida State. They seemed like they didn't trust some parts of their game. They were missing tackles. Florida State almost seemed off and not fully ready to play versus Georgia Tech felt ready for the moment, felt ready to play. And hey, shout out to Brent Key now, 5-0 when playing against ranked ACC opponents. But yeah, I think that's pretty much going to do it for my Week 0 breakdown. Usually, for the most part, they are somewhat smoother. It's just this was a weird weekend where I really only watched one game, so kind of had my notes all over the place for the one game. But yeah, so like I said, shout out to Georgia Tech, huge win. I can't wait for next week. I mean, just quickly, before we talk about the win totals, just taking a quick peek at the Week 1. Thursday night, we got North Dakota versus Colorado. That has a chance to maybe be some interesting game, but man, you go to Friday, not too crazy. TCU Stanford might be okay. Past that, I mean, we got Thursday, Friday. On Thursday, you got North Carolina, Minnesota, which will be probably a pretty solid game. Then you move ahead. Saturday, wait. You got Notre Dame, Texas A&M. Woo! Georgia, Clemson. I'm going to quit here, though. We're going to do a lot of this Thursday when I give out my bets. We'll talk over a lot of these games. Yeah, like I said, Thursday is pretty much NFL futures, and then I'll go over my bets for the college, and we'll pretty much just go all through Week 1, kind of talk about some games I'm looking at, what I'm thinking about. But that'll be Thursday. To finish off today, since we pretty much broke down Week 0, caught up on some important NFL news, I think pretty much we'll just go over, like I said, the win totals. Very quickly, I'll just give them out as I go, because I need to pull up I don't have the thing pulled back up. Yeah, we'll start with Big Ten country, because, why not? I won't lie to you. I'm not going to go into super detail with some of these, because, like I said, I'd be totally lying to you if I said I deep dove this like I did the NFL. College was more of just skim over the top. I kind of looked at some of the teams I like, some of the schedules, and listened to 2 or 3 podcasts that I really trust, listen to who they like, listen to their win totals, then compare their win totals to some of the win totals I like, see if maybe I could see this, maybe I could not. I'll admit, this year's I should have done, I talked about it a little bit in the intro, I wanted to be a lot more cleaner, a lot more smoother with it, but having the surgery in the middle of the week just kind of punted everything I wanted to do college-wise. I'm kind of sacrificing college futures this year, so that's why the win totals, they're going to be too bad. They're going to count against the official record. I'm still going to give them out, but I don't have full-on descriptions for them like I do some of the NFL because I basically didn't finish my breakdown. Because these were supposed to be given out last week. But yeah, first one we'll talk about, Purdue under 4.5 wins, minus 178. I guess I'll take it. Sorry, let me write down my win totals for college. We'll take Purdue under 4.5. It's minus 178. I'm probably not going to bet this, but I'll put this one on the record. The only reason I'm taking the Purdue under 4.5, I think they're going to win about... I think they're generally going to win 4 to 5 games at most. If you look at their schedule, Purdue has a gauntlet of a schedule. I'm talking Oregon. I'm talking Penn State. Hell, they might even play Ohio State. I mean, they basically play a lot of the good teams you're going to see in the Big Ten. Yeah, like, for example, Wisconsin, Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State. I mean, Notre Dame, they're out of conference games with Notre Dame, Oregon State, and Indiana State. Like, it's going to be a tough year for them, honestly. So I don't expect Purdue to be too good this year, which kind of sucks because they are the local team by me. But yeah, I just sadly can't expect from them too much. They finally have a somewhat decent quarterback. Hudson Card isn't too horrible, but as the rest of the team goes, I mean, it's just going to be a rough year for Purdue, I think. So I'm going to probably take their under as much as I really don't want to. But moving on, we're going to take Rutgers over 6.5. Just for the fact that I think this is a bowl team. I really like their schedule. I believe their schedule is a little bit easier than it has been in years past. Their over at 6.5 is plus 100. So it makes me like it even more. And I just like that. I think they're a bowling team. To go bowling, you need to go about 6-6. So if the win total's at 6.5, I think that's definitely doable. The schedule isn't going to be too hard at all either. So I'm looking for them to be able to take advantage and, yeah, make a bowl and maybe be like a 7-5 team. That I just think it's going to be a good year from Rutgers. I don't have too much to go into it. Roster-wise, I think they're better. Coaching staff's a little bit better if I remember right. Like I said, my biggest thing for them is the schedule. I think they got some talent. They really got some dudes. They play Howard, then Akron, Virginia Tech, Washington, Nebraska, Wisconsin, UCLA. I mean, they don't play Ohio State. They don't play Oregon. They don't play Michigan. Need I say more? They do play USC, but they don't play a lot of the really good teams in the Big Ten that they've been stuck with for years, being on that side of the Big Ten conference. I can't remember. It's the champions and the Legends. Legends and champions. I can't remember which one it was. East West. Can't remember. I always mix that shit up with the Big Ten, but they were in the harder part of the Big Ten conference where they had Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State on their side or their division, and now. Jesus Christ, you get it. Rutgers over 6.5. They don't play three of the hardest teams that they used to play all the time, so it feels like the schedule makers gave them a bit of an easier schedule. I like for Rutgers to potentially get 7 wins and go to a bowl game. Next one we got is Nebraska over 7.5 minus 134. This is another one I'm not going to bet, but I'll give out for the record. I don't like the 134. I think this is going to be a 7 or 8 win team, 8-4. And I just think Nebraska's going to be good this year. Coach Rule usually takes a step up in his second year. I thought their QB play was horrendous last year between Jeff Sims losing the ball all the time. And I can't even remember the backup's name, but they just turned the ball. Actually, Jeff Sims might have played for Jacksonville State. That's my boy I've been thinking of. I can't remember he turned the ball over too, so let's be honest. But I can't remember who the Nebraska quarterback was last year, who they were, but they turned over the ball a lot. I do remember that. So going into this year, Dylan Raiola, Patrick Mahomes Jr., I think he's going to be a little bit better than that. Now, how good does he have to be? Probably not too crazy. Nebraska's a little bit better of a roster, but I look for them to take another step forward this year, and I don't think 8 wins is too crazy, but for minus 134, odds are kind of asked for that, so I'm not going to bet it personally, but this is one for sure that I like, so I'm going to put it on my record. These were just the last 4, by the way, that I haven't placed yet. All the rest are placed. These are the last 4 that either making the list or, in Purdue and Nebraska's case, are just going on the record. Last one I got, we're going back to the boys. They were really good to me last year. And Rich Rod got these boys buzzing. If you know who Rich Rod coaches, let me try that again. You know exactly what I'm talking about. These boys did us amazing last year in their first year, moving up to the Group 5. And that would be Jacksonville State over 7.5 wins, minus 128. Jacksonville State last year, cash cow. They were one of the few teams that made me money. Every single week I would pick them, I'd take their spread, and they would just be win game. Last year they went 9-4, so this year they're projected to lose 1 more game. But I mean, shit. Last year I will admit, last year it was a fun ride to have Jacksonville State. They had a lot of games where they were winning and covering, or if they were losing, they were still covering. And I'll admit, even at 9-4, there were some games where I'm like, what the fuck are we doing, boys? But for the most part, they were really nice to me, did me right, so I'm going to look to ride them again this year. Schedule should be a little bit tougher, but now they're a year adjusted. So this should make it, I think they're going to be pretty decent. You got Coastal Carolina, Louisville, Eastern Michigan, Southern Miss, Kennesaw State, New Mexico State, Middle Tennessee, Liberty, Lou Tech, FIU, Sam Houston, Western Kentucky. Give me 8 wins. I think Jacksonville State's going to have a really good season. And I look for Rich Rod to get these boys potentially not only bowling again, but maybe even, I'm not going to say they're going to contend for a conference title, but they might just contend for a conference title. I might not go that far, but I for sure am going to take their over at 7.5 plus 128. And that finally leaves us with, I got a few more. Sorry, I don't have this thing pulled up. Of course, I lost it, so just give me a second. Okay, I'm ready to begin now. Sorry about that. So, some other, like I said, this one we already did take. I did bet this. This was one of the few ones where it's like, I hated the odds, but it's like, man, I actually really like this a lot, so I am going to take it. It was Georgia Tech over 4.5. I took them over 4.5 wins because I thought they were going to have a really good season. I thought 4.5 was way too low, and I thought this is potentially a team that could go bowling. Now with a huge win over Florida State, their odds went from over 4.5 minus 142. Now the over is 5.5 at minus 170. So that makes me feel really good about this. I did have Florida State's over at -9.5 that I do have a little bit on, so I will put that on here. I really do not. I still think this can be a good team, but the fact that now they have to go 10-1 down the stretch, it's gonna suck. I won't lie to you. I almost wanted to lie about this one, and be like, "Oh, I didn't bet this. This game's already over. I don't have to say it." But I'm gonna be honest. I'll call myself out. I liked Florida State a little bit after the last game. I'm not too confident in that over anymore. I won't lie to you. I won't lie to you. Another one I will take though. Arkansas under 4.5 wins. But yeah, so those two are probably like Georgia Tech, Florida State. Those ones are probably chalked, messed up. There's no way those odds are there. If you do take the 9.5 though, I bet you that number's gonna be way better. So maybe it's not too bad. But Arkansas under 4.5, I will be taking this one as well. This was +100 when I took it. So some of these odds might have moved a little bit. I just don't think Arkansas is going to have an amazing season this year. I think I have them to about 3 or 4 wins. This is kind of, I don't know if it's a fully new staff, but this still feels like some turnover from the past few years of just being not the best. Oh, and I've read that wrong, by the way. Florida's +104, excuse me. But, yeah, I just don't think Arkansas is going to have the best seasons this year. This was one that I'll admit I kind of took from somebody. I can't remember who I took it from, but I remember they had a whole explanation. And I was looking at the schedule. I'm like, man, Arkansas does kind of have a tough schedule. And then I was just kind of looking at their roster. I'm like, man, they don't got the best roster either. I don't know why do you. I played with them in college football 25, being like, man, I'm not excited. So I know their college football points kind of being funny, but overall, I did not see too much to impress me with this team. So whatever. I'm like, I'll take it. Why not? I think that they probably will end up going under. And if, hey, 4-8 wouldn't be too bad for me. That's right at the hook, but still a winner. Another one I do like is the U to go over 9.5 wins +138. I think this is going to be a team that I think this is going to be a really good year for the U. Cam Ward, really good quarterback. This is one of the more talented rosters you have had in a while. This is their year to go, to be honest. They have a really talented roster. This is the time to make the playoffs. They might be able to make a jump at the division, potentially, especially with this Florida State loss now. Between them and Clemson, if they can take advantage, they might be able to make something happen. I have to check their schedule out again, but I believe their schedule is pretty kind to them as well. Where are they at? There they are. Look at their schedule. So Florida, which is really, really big game to start the year. That could be a big swinger. Then you got Florida A&M, Ball State, South Florida, Virginia Tech. That will be a tough one, but they get that one at home. At Cal, at Louisville, versus Florida State, versus Duke, at Georgia Tech, versus Wake, at Syracuse. You listen to that schedule, realistically, Virginia Tech. I don't know why I said Virginia Tech. Why the fuck did I say it like that? Virginia Tech, Florida, Louisville maybe, Florida State maybe. For their 12 games are really, really hard. Past that, they should realistically win, and I bet they're probably favored in the rest of them, if not. Yeah, well, I said 2 or 3 games are hard, and they're projected over unders at 9.5. They win 1 or 2 of those hard games. They win the rest. Easy cover. Like I said, with how good I project the U to be this year, I have no issue at all with this cover. I genuinely think that over 9.5. This is one of my more favorite ones I'm giving out this year. I feel really good about it, and I think the U is going to have a really good year this year. They got a lot of guys, so very interested to see how they actually do end up doing this year. Because, like I said, I do think it's going to be better. I don't know how much better it's going to be, but I do think that 9.5 wins is no. I don't think it's crazy going to limb saying they're going to win 9.5 games. Another over I'm going to take is Pitt's over. I think this is the team. I believe Yarnell is starting for them, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's got an upgrade over what they had last year, quarterback, and that's pretty much what all this is relating to. Their schedule as well, not a horrible schedule at all, and pretty much this play is pretty much all on the fact that they won a decent amount of games last year with a worse quarterback. I think their quarterbacks this year is a little bit better. The roster is basically the same, if not a tad bit better. So this is my whole thing is so if they got a better quarterback, the roster is pretty much the same, if not better. They should be able to win about 5.5, 6 games. I think this is a team also that can make it to a bowl game. So the fact that they make it to a bowl game, their over-unders at 5.5, and it's plus money, I'll take that. Another one. Oh, I guess we missed out. SMU, under 8.5. So I wonder how much this will change now. After the This is minus 128 for this one. After their close loss they almost had against Nevada. The whole reason I chose this under originally before the game was I think they're going to win a good amount of games. It's just I think there's going to be an adjustment period to playing against bigger teams and all that. I mean, shit, we saw it with Nevada. Nevada should have almost stole that game from them. And Nevada just played them tough. I'm not going to say it's all SMU's fault completely. Just for... I don't even know. I'll admit, I don't even know what I'm fully trying to say there. It obviously is SMU's fault a little bit because they just didn't play fully ready, but I also give some credit to Nevada for being up and ready to play in that game and actually playing SMU pretty tough. But for the most part, I just think this is going to be an adjustment period for SMU. So they can still go 8-4, have a really good season, and hit the under, which I don't think they're going to go 8-4, especially with the schedule we read out for them and seeing some of those teams they have to play on their schedule. It's going to be tough. I think a little bit of adjustment. So the under 8.5, I don't think it's too crazy. And shit, we just saw how Preston Stone played. If he plays like that all season, this 8.5 is going to be nice. So we got that. So we got Pitt, we got Miami. Okay. Virginia Tech, 8.5, plus 124. I love Virginia Tech. This is a team I have to make the playoffs. Another team I have to make the playoffs is Oklahoma State. I'll remind you guys at the end. Virginia Tech to make the playoffs, plus 950. Oklahoma State to make the playoffs when I took it, plus 950. Plus 700 today when I doubled down on it and used my 25% boost. But Virginia Tech plus 8 or over 8.5 wins. I think this is going to be a really good season for them. I think this is a college football playoff team. I think this is one of the teams that could potentially take advantage of the new format. I think they're bringing back a decent amount of guys. I like the quarterback that they got bringing back. I just look for I think schedule-wise as well, I think they have a schedule that is very, very nice and generous to them. So I think this is a very good chance for Virginia Tech to steal the ACC, get back to dominance, man. When this is a good team, Virginia Tech can get rocking. And it becomes a fun campus to not only have game day at, but watch along with and everything. If you look at the schedule for the season, Vanderbilt, Marshall, Old Dominion, Rutgers, the U. That's going to be a tough one. There's one loss potentially. Stanford, Boston College, Georgia Tech, Syracuse, Clemson, potentially 2, Duke, Virginia. So there's 2 losses. They got to win. They basically can have 3 to 4 losses all season. 4, you're probably screwed. They can have a max of 3. I mean, I truly think that the only 2 games that are losable games, like right off the bat looking at the sheet, are Clemson and Miami. Past that, I mean, I think they could potentially beat Rutgers, which sucks because I bet on both of them. Boston College, I think they can beat. Georgia Tech, I think they can beat. So, regardless, I mean, I think Virginia Tech's going to be good. I think they have a chance to take advantage of a really good schedule. And not only that, maybe they're a playoff team because, hey, if they beat the U or Clemson and they clean up the rest of their schedule, this is going to be a playoff team. And, I mean, I love the atmosphere they have. I look for them to be potentially good this year. And 8.5 wins at plus money too. I'm a big odd. You give me some plus money odds on some stuff that's not too hard, I'm gonna fall in love. But I believe so. So I bummed. So wait, did I bum it up or are we good? I think we're good. I think I gotta stop here. Yes. So another one we got Florida under 4.5 wins. This is another schedule one. Florida under 4.5 is plus 124. They have one of the hardest, if not the hardest schedule in all college football. They play 8 ranked teams, and I don't believe these are top 10. Could be wrong. But regardless, minimum they play 8 teams. At worst, I don't think it's 8 top 10 ranked teams. I just feels like it's stupid. But Florida has a horrible schedule, to be honest. 8, like I said. So they're pretty. I see them going about 4-8. At worst, they're gonna, or at best, maybe 5-7. So this is gonna be a game where the hook might come into play, but I just don't see how Florida's gonna be good this year. I'm not gonna lie to you. Just basically, especially on how hard the schedule is. This would be Billy Napier's last year. This does not seem like everything's aligning right for Florida, and they got it's almost like a take the money season with all these hard games they have scheduled. It's gonna be tough. If you want Florida if you want to hedge for this situation, Florida to get exactly 5 wins is plus 370. So that's my hedge off this. Is I'm going to pretty much bet Florida to go under 4.5 wins, and if they win, to go over 5. If they get 5 wins exactly, it's plus 370. So that's going to be my hedge situation. I don't see them winning 5 games, but if they do on the off chance, hey, I'm covered, and it's better odds. But like I said, I just don't think Florida's going to have too good of a year, especially with the fact they got to play A-ranked teams. That tough, boy. So moving on, we got Georgia. This is easy. Georgia over 10.5. Best team in college, maybe with Ohio State. But I mean, let's be honest. It's Georgia. They aren't going to lose more than one game, and if they do, we're all going to be shocked about it. So the fact that they're projected to basically their win totals to go 11-1, I don't think it needs to explain anymore. If they lose more than 2 games, I'm going to be shocked this year. So the fact you're going to give me a win total over under 10.5 at -122, I mean, I'll take it. That's pretty easy, boy. In my opinion, that's one of the. I'm not going to say one of the safer ones. That is for sure one of my safer ones that I love the most is Georgia to get over 10.5 because it's just, hey Georgia, do what you do every year. Go 12-0 or go 11-1 for us, please. I believe I have how many more? 2 or 3 more left, I believe. Oh, I just got one more left. Last one, Kentucky over 6.5 wins. I believe this is a schedule thing. I won't lie to you. This is the one. I placed this one so long ago, I can't even remember. -122 for this one. Yeah, actually, let me put that up here. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to find a spot to give you my college football playoff teams real quick, like 2 of them that I bet on. But, yeah, like I said, Kentucky over 6.5 wins. I think this is a schedule play. I think their team is a slight bit better than last season. Last season, they, I think, had about this many wins. If not, it was like 1 less win or 1 more win projected. But Southern Miss, I think that could be a win. South Carolina might be tough. Georgia might be tough. But Ohio, I mean, yes, that's doable. Not Ohio State. Ohio Bobcats, that's doable. Ole Miss can be tough. Vanderbilt can be doable. Florida can be doable. Auburn might be tough. Tennessee might be tough. Murray State is doable. Texas probably going to be tough. Louisville probably going to be tough. This is not the most favorite one. This is not my most favorite one I've given out, but with the upside Kentucky can have to win 7 games and make a bowl with the schedule, I think it's definitely doable. Southern Miss, Ohio, there's 2 wins. Vanderbilt, there's 3. We'll say they beat Florida, there's 4. Because they have beat them, I think, the last 4 years, or 4 of the last 6, something like that. Murray State, there's 5. And then you just got to find me a win. Auburn, Tennessee, Louisville, Texas, Ole Miss, Georgia. Just win 2 of those games. It might be doable. Like I said, Kentucky's by far not my most favorite one I give out, but this is one I've taken, so I gotta put it on the record. The more I look at it, it does make me a little bit sketchy, but I do think Kentucky's a talented enough team this year where they might be able to do something. Their quarterback is, I can't remember. I think Brock Vandagriff is their starter, and I don't think he's too horrible if I can remember right. But I can't fully remember Kentucky. But yeah, that's about it for the win totals. Like I said, to end it off, I'll give you my college football playoff teams, and that will do it for today. Let me just sign back into my app that I was on this whole time. Oklahoma State to make the playoffs. Now they're plus 700. I got them with a 25% boost. I got them at plus 880, excuse me. So I got Oak State at plus 880 for this one, and then I took them earlier in the year at, what was that? It was like a few weeks ago. I took them on January, February, March, April. I took them June 18th. Holy shit! I was like, damn, what? How long ago was that? So yeah, June 18th I took them, and they were plus 900. And now with that boost, I get them plus 880, which is almost back close to their value. Along with them, I took Virginia Tech, who is plus 950. These are 2 more the long shot teams I like. I think that both their schedules are not too bad at all. I both think these are teams that could win their conference. That would help them go a long way to get into the auto bid. But like I said, these are also 2 teams with really long odds. I think have very talented rosters. They're returning a lot of guys that have a lot of potential to be able to do some magic. But win total wise, just to give them all out again so you can hear them. We got Purdue under 4.5 minus 178. Did not bet, will not bet officially on the record, though, if you guys want to take it. I do think they're going to reach this under. Rutgers over 6.5 plus 100. Nebraska over 7.5 minus 134. Jacksonville State over 7.5 plus 128. Georgia Tech over 4.5 minus 142. Probably going to be a bit different. Florida State over 9.5 plus 104. Arkansas under 4.5 wins plus 100. The U, Miami University over 9.5 wins plus 138. We got Pitt over 5.5 wins plus 116. SMU under 8.5 wins minus 128. Virginia Tech over 8.5 wins plus 124. Florida under 4.5 wins plus 124. Exactly 5 wins is plus 370. Georgia over 10.5 wins minus 122. And Kentucky over 6.5 minus 122. And if you want some college football plays real quick, playoff plays, Oklahoma State plus 900. Plus 700 now, excuse me. It was plus 900. Then you got Virginia Tech at plus 950. Man! Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for the support. Really do appreciate it. Like I said, Thursday we're going to be back at it with some NFL futures. I'm going to write out all my NFL futures, give you every NFL future I've taken this year, or I will be taking. And then along with that, I will also be giving out my bets for the college football week 1 action. And I think that's pretty much going to do it. Maybe some NFL news if we have time, but regardless, heavy bet show next Thursday. And it's crazy. Literally a week from Thursday, we got NFL football back. Had the countdown. We had a long summer. Summer's finally approaching the end. And the boys put the pads on. It's about goddamn time. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for support. I'll see everybody back in this feed on Thursday for not only my NFL future, maybe not only some NFL news, but we're going to look at week 1 of college football.